Here we go. So I'm going to tell you today how to beat the spotlights quickly and easily. A few people are struggling. Even if you're finding this easy, these couple of things that I do will just speed up the process for you and you can get it done really quickly. So let's get into it. So bar a couple of levels, I pretty much run the same team throughout, and I'll explain that later. You just need a shooter that you're really comfortable with, and then two players that can set screens. They don't have to be centres. I use John Stockton as that main guy, and I use Larry Johnson and Cat as well. The reason I use Larry Johnson as well is because he's got a nice shot, so I'll switch it up with him now and then. And, you know, he can also set a screen, so he's got more than one purpose. So defensively, I don't do a huge amount. I'll paint it, you know, if they're running a centre who can't shoot. It's probably the simplest way to go about things. We're not fussed really about them scoring because we're going to outscore them for sure, which I'll show you on the next possession. So, you know, he goes up there, that's fine. So I'll slow things down now. You'll see with Stockton, you want to put the ball in his hand. Then you want to press L1 to bring up the plays and select pass and screen away. Now use R1 to call the screen. So most of you will know how to do this. So we're going to call Cat over for this one. Then all you need to do is lean into the screen and pull the trigger. This is why you need to know their shot. But remember, all apart from the last level, usually this week it wasn't the case, they're on Pro. And on All-Star, this will still work if you've got a good shooter. If he's taking wide open shots, you know, throughout the game, he's going to score again and again and again, and you'll, without question, stop the computer. And what you'll find is a lot. I try to encourage the computer to take twos, because then I'm constantly swapping twos for threes. So you can see they hit a three there, that's fine. But as long as we keep hitting threes throughout this game, we'll win it relatively comfortably. So let's set up again here. We'll do this one in real time. So Stockton, call the screen again, lean into it, and pull the trigger. Just again and again and again. So this will work for just games where you need to win. It will work for the last game, you know, the tougher game. I do exactly the same thing. And it will work for 3-point challenge games as well. And again, you don't really need to worry too much about defense. You can see I'm playing a passing lane here, but it's not really that necessary. As long as they keep missing, there you go, they miss a shot. We're just going to run it again and again and again. So this is not only an effective way to beat the computer, but it's also a very efficient way to beat the computer. I mean, if you think every possession probably takes on average, you know, we're probably using about 10 seconds of the shot clock. You can see there that the screen didn't set for whatever reason, so we just reset it again, pull again, and that's another 3. It's just really quick, and you know, it's not a sweat. You're not trying to beat the, you know, opposition on the inside. You're not worrying about overpowered CPU defense. They can't stop it, to be honest. So you can just do it again and again and again throughout the games. You can see here what I mean by it doesn't really matter if the computer scores, because look, you know, it's already 11-7. We're probably scoring equally. I think they maybe missed one, but we're just going to step over again, pull the trigger again. If we're getting 3 points every time down the floor, you know, it's that straightforward. You know, we're just 1 point away from a win now. So that's done. So I'll show you again on some of the harder levels later, but this just works again and again. Just keep doing that exact play time after time after time. You'll knock these out. And it will take you about 45 minutes, to be honest. So on this level, you require dunks. And this is, again, something people have been struggling with. It really comes down to the card that you use and doing one move. And again, you'll find this just, you know, a game changer if you are struggling to get those dunks. The cards you use are important, even though it's on Pro. You know, I ran Larry Johnson as my main shooter last time and my main dunker last time, but I got Stockton since then, so I'm using him instead. But you need a card, you know, for the shooting challenges, you need a card who can not only shoot, but you're comfortable with the shot. And for this, you just need a card who can dunk. So, you know, John Stockton is obviously a fantastic option, but if you're on a budget, you know, that Steve Francis is one of the best dunking cards in the game. I think he's just a few KMT. Richard Guerin as well, he'll do the job for you as well. So let me show you how to beat this again relatively quickly. So just inbound to your main ball handler, that's going to be Stockton for me. Then all you need to do again, pass and screen away. All that does is create space. I'll slow it down again for you now so you can see exactly what I do. So you want to drive into the corner and then hit down and right on the right stick. What that will do is it will shift your player's momentum. You'll suddenly have an open lane back onto the turbo and up to the hoop. This works in, by the way, in, you know, TT offline, it works in challenges, it works in TT online, works in unlimited as well. It's just a really good move to kind of learn and just know. A lot of people just don't know how to stop this. So the CPU is the same, but then, you know, they're just not as smart as a human who will probably adapt to it. So again, we're just going to keep doing that again and again. And if a simple sort of fast break dunk is on, we're just going to take it. You can see here, blows by Chris Paul and dunks it in. Just on the sort of quick transition, when you're running in transition, go on the inside, not on the outside. I see a lot of people go round. It's a much better lane, especially against the CPU on the inside. We get a good stop there, and we'll go again. open, and that's 3 dunks. I can't remember what we needed to do, 5 or 6. But you can see how quickly we're getting through this again. You know, we're already at 6-2. We're not worried about losing the game. And every time we reset, every time the opposition scores and we're going to inbound the ball, we're going to run that play again. What I'll do, so I'm not boring you to death, is I'll just show you sort of highlights and clips of me doing this for the rest of this game. Now I'll show you this next play, just because sometimes the computer gets a little bit wise to it. They won't really stop it, but the last couple of times it was a bit trickier. So it's funny, they kind of move over expecting it, so you can literally just run down the middle of the court and dunk. It's you know, either they're going to get beaten on the side, on the cut, or they're going to get beaten straight down the middle of the court. So just mix it up now and then. If there's obvious lanes being presented to the to the centre of the court, just run those instead. I think we've dunked every. You know, what are we on now? 16 points. So we've got 8 dunks. I'm sure the challenge was less than that. So this challenge is done. Let's move on to the next one. So the next challenge is layups, and it's exactly what you did with the dunks, but what you need to do is you need to change your squad. So I think this is one that a lot of people seem to struggle with. It's kind of weird, but the reason people are struggling is because they're not using the right team. You need to use 2 players, really, who won't dunk the ball. So for me, I'm going to switch out Stockton. I put in Nate Archibald, I think. Yeah, Tiny goes in. He cannot dunk the ball. And I'm going to take Larry Johnson out as well, just so I have another option in case, you know, he does get clamped up for whatever reason. And I'm going to stick in Gus Williams. Now, you don't need overpowered cards to do this. You just need fast cards and the right cards. That's the key. You know, you could do the 3-point thing with like a Ray Allen, you know, for example. Same with this, you know, I can use Ruby Gus Williams and he'll do just as good a job as any other card. So now I'm going to basically do exactly what I did with the dunks. I'm going to use Nate and Gus instead. And when they get to the hoop, all they're going to do is hit a layup instead of a dunk. So it should be super easy. So first possession, we're going to do exactly what we did. Pass and screen away, drive into the corner, down and right on the right stick, and then up we go for the layup. The one thing I'll say about layups is get up early. You know, don't wait till you're under the hoop. Sort of get a 2-3 step run up off the ground, and then yeah, you'd be much more confident that they'll lay up. But again, the computer won't stop this. What I would usually do, so I'm using Nate and Gus here, is I would usually go back once I've done the requirements to shooting threes. Nate's got a more than good enough 3-ball to do exactly that same thing on that we did with Stockton for the threes, just setting the screens and shooting. There you see Gus Williams doing the same thing. So again and again, we've covered this in as much depth as we need to now. Let's move on to the next one. So the next one is 3-pointers. Exactly the same as I showed you in the first game. So any games, again, where you just need to get points, or you need to hit threes, or you're playing a tougher opponent, go back to the squad that you had before. Just make sure you've got a confident 3-point shooter. I've got Stockton there, and I'll probably put Larry back in as well. So I'll skip through this. I'll just show you a couple of highlights, and then we'll move on to the next one. So one thing really quickly, you don't have to reset every time. So you can see on the fast break here, Stockton's just open. He is deep, but he's open and he's got a killer shot. I've got range on that Stockton as well, so it makes no difference shooting it from the edge of the D. So if he's open, just take the shot. You don't need to kind of go and reset every time. Again, it will just speed up the game a little bit. So I think we've covered enough of this one. Let's move on to the next game. So the next one is layups. We're going to skip past that and we're going to go to the assists. Assists is, you would have run your main squad again. Actually, you could probably run either, but I would run Stockton, you know, Cat and Larry for assist ones, because you know, obviously Stockton's got the dunk, he's also got the 3. So there's a couple of things you can do here for the assists. I pretty much do 2 things exclusively. I'll break them down for you now. So the simplest and most effective way to do this is just to knock down 3. So I use Stockton to get the assists. Look at Larry Johnson here. He's just got the space, pull the trigger, and that's 1 assist for Stockton. And not only that, but you know, we're putting up 3s again. So you can do this a lot of the time, sort of a replacement for setting the screens and whatnot. I find just setting the screens is a little bit more accurate, probably not much more. Certainly much more in All-Star, the screens work a lot more effectively. But, you know, we're going to run up again. We'll get the space again. And that's green. Now, there was one other thing I was going to show you, but I've realised in watching this game back that I didn't actually do it in this game because I was just knocking down threes the whole time. But the other thing you could do is hold triangle, and I'll see if there's a highlight later where I can show you how that works. But basically, you hold triangle or Y on Xbox, point at a player, and they'll just cut to the hoop. They'll score again and again and again. It's really straightforward. One more time here, you'll see Larry Johnson will be wide open, passing screen away. You can see they just don't adapt. He's just open. You know, you can see how long I took to take that shot, but it was always going to be there. So, again, just a really simple, effective way to get through one of these games. Stockton's got 3 assists. He needs 8. We're really confident he'll get those quite comfortably at this point. And again, we're pulling away because we're hitting threes every time. So, skipping ahead a little bit, you'll see here Stockton's on 7 assists. We haven't changed what we've been doing the whole game. The computer still hasn't adapted. Larry's way out. There is a range on my Larry, and there you go. Again, just done. So that whole game is done. Requirements are finished. And now we can just sort of have fun, do what we want to do. If you want to just finish the game quickly, you can keep doing what you were doing before. So I'm going to skip the next game because it's dunks again. But mercifully, there was actually a point where I used a cut. So you'll see here, I get clamped with Stockton. Get stopped there. So I press triangle, point at Larry, look at the cut he makes. So that is what I was talking about getting assists, also getting dunks, you know, either way. When it's down to one player, just make sure the player you're cutting is the right guy. But those cuts work just as well and a good way to finish that game. So the next game is threes again. So no point showing you it, but you'll see here again, we just run exactly the same thing. John Stockton, 3, and look at the score on this one. I mean, you can see how quickly we're getting this done. So the next game is 25 points with any player. So we'll skip through this and I'll show you the end result. So same again, no need to change anything. Stockton's on 24 points now. We need to get one more. I'm going to set the screen. I'm going to step into it, pull the trigger, and there you go. That's 27 points. Really straightforward. So that's everything. And if you put it all together, you'll get through these super quick. I genuinely mean, I don't think it takes me more than an hour. So you can see here, we're struggling to set our last screen, which is quite funny. But we'll pull it off and we'll green the shot. We've been practicing that shot for an hour. We should be greening it by now. One thing that I haven't covered, which maybe you're curious about, is defense. The good thing about this approach is when you start shooting threes and you start pulling away from the CPU, the CPU starts playing worse. So they start putting up bad shots. They'll sort of run to the rim at the wrong time. It actually just makes getting the steals and blocks really easy. For the blocks, you can just stand off to one side, wait for them to attack the rim, and go up for a block. That's how I get blocks. And steals, again, when you're pulling away, the CPU just doesn't play as well. So I get most of my ball steals on ball, but I do a full court press just to put them under a bit more pressure. That's it, really. But, you know, it's about an hour. Like I said, even on all-star difficulty, I run exactly the same sort of tactics. I just hit that 3 off the screen and you know, I pull away and you know, it all gets done very quickly. So I hope that helps. I think anyone who's been struggling, like I said, even if you haven't been struggling, it's probably a much quicker method and much quicker way to go about it. Really straightforward, really efficient, really effective. That's all for now, guys. Until next time, thanks for watching.